Baltimore Special Agent in Charge, Thomas Abasinski, and all of our BPD commanders who have been working on this for quite some time now. And before we begin, I want to say thank you to our law enforcement partners for their continued commitment to closing these cases. As you have heard, Baltimore City and surrounding jurisdictions and other cities have been experiencing several recent incidents involving RideShare apps. These criminals often carjack an active rideshare driver, and in some cases will use the app to respond to calls and then rob unsuspecting riders via Cash App or drive them to an ATM. We currently have 39 total cases involving rideshare robberies. These incidents include both drivers and customers, with multiple incidents where victims were forced into the vehicle, essentially being kidnapped, and then driven around to various areas. To date, we have arrested 6 individuals for a total of 12 cases. Those arrested range in age from 15 to 18 years old, and all but 2 have prior arrests. There are currently 2 open warrants for an alleged perpetrator of these crimes. I would remind you that these are active and open investigations, and in order to protect the integrity of the cases, we will not be able to go into detail of those arrested until they are formally charged. In many cases like this, the suspects are described as juvenile males and females, often working in pairs or in groups. All of us here today, as well as representatives from the ride-sharing companies, are working around the clock to arrest those responsible and resolve these investigations. I will also add that when we make these arrests, we must ensure that these individuals stay in jail and are no longer a threat to the public. To that end, we are working hand in hand with the U.S. Attorney's Office and the Attorney General in prosecuting these cases. We have updated our carjacking protocols to ensure that we can get information on these incidents in real time, upload information into our license plate reader system, and then provide information to patrol officers to look out for these vehicles. Detectives have also connected with vendors to have payments refunded when applicable. We continue to work with these vendors, and they have also sent safety tips to riders and to drivers. We encourage all RideShare app users to cancel a trip if they don't feel safe. We know that it is important for our riders to be able to get around, especially in colder months, to buy groceries, to go to work, to run errands, and therefore this is absolutely a top priority for all of us. We must protect the quality of life of our friends, our neighbors, and our co-workers. And so if you are going to use a RideShare app, please follow these guidelines. Always confirm the license plate, the car make and model, the driver's photo, and who the driver is there to pick up before getting into the vehicle. Always check to make sure there are no other riders in the vehicle. For RideShare drivers, use precaution before picking up fares of 3 or more people. And then always call 911 immediately if something doesn't seem right. So I'll now pass it on to Special Agent in Charge, Thomas Abasinski, and after that we'll take a few questions.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you to you and your partners. Thank you for being here today. The good news is the Commissioner just gave you a lot of information that we would also share with you. The FBI is working with the Baltimore Police Department along with other area law enforcement agencies and rideshare companies to ensure our community remains safe during the holidays. The FBI has opened several investigations involving numerous individuals. While I can't go into the specifics of the investigations, we have and share the tips that were just provided by the Commissioner with you. We want to make sure one last little bit of information is important, is that give the criminals what they want. Whether it's your cars, your keys, your wallet, it is not worth risking your life to do this. I'll give more information as we answer some questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. At this time, we will take a few questions. Lindsay?
We're going to start right here at the end, and we'll work our way. Sure. You just mentioned that the FBI opened several investigations. In addition to the warrants, the 2 warrants that are out, are there more? Do you have reason to believe that there's another group or more people who are operating?
I think we are, first of all, we know that there are 2 more, that's why we have warrants, but it's ongoing, and as we continue to investigate, as people who have information would send that to us, because we're always asking you to send us information. And you can always do it anonymously by sending it to Crime Stoppers at 1-866-7-LOCKUP. But as the investigation progresses, while we can't go into detail, there very well could be more. And we are committed to making sure we solve all of the cases and that we can send a strong message to prevent future cases like this from happening and future victims from becoming victims.
Is there an idea of how many more potential cases there are?
These cases, as they progress, will enlighten us and give us information about what we don't know. And so the answer to that is, while we're investigating and reporting on the number of cases we have now, we don't always know what will come of the investigation as we begin to get more details.
So can I say you have 2 additional cases that you're investigating right now?
There are 2 additional cases that we have warrants for people on, and those are still ongoing investigations.
Just one more clarification. So 2 warrants, does that mean 2 people, or 1 person, 2 warrants? Like, how does that work?
To my knowledge, that is 2 extra people, or 2 warrants for the same person.
Same person.
Should be the same.
2 warrants for 1 person.
Brittany? Yeah, so for starters, you said it was 6 individuals arrested. Is that in addition to the 9 that were already arrested, or is this a clarification on the amount of people who've been arrested?
So, restate that question for me, please.
Because before, we reported that there were 9 minors who were arrested in regards to 5 cases that you guys had.
Okay,
but now
so in
you're saying-
addition to that,
in
yes,
addition
we
to that,
have
there's been
arrested
6
additional
other
people.
individuals.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
Okay, and now 12 total cases.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect, okay. And then, what was the time frame on this? I know the first one that I reported was a few weeks ago. When did this start, or how long has it been going on?
I think we take this back to when we saw an abduction. The first abduction we saw on November 9th. The second abduction case was 11/10. That one occurred with a rape. But the vehicle had been stolen on November 5th. I think the first RideShare robbery was on 11/22.
Right here? We'll come back.
Oh, okay.
Commissioner, I know a lot of these are armed robberies, so what's being done to control the influx of guns in juvenile hands?
Great question, man. We are always working to, number one, try to stop the flow of guns that are coming into the city because there are no gun stores in the city. We know that a large portion come from outside the city, but within the state, and then the rest come from the other 49 states. And tracking that with members of our department, with ATF, and with other federal and state agencies, we are working to do that to stop that. Then, catching people who are illegally possessing guns on the streets of Baltimore every day. We talked about that at an earlier press conference today. We've taken more than 2,200 guns off the street, made over 1,400 arrests for people illegally carrying guns. This year, that is more gun arrests and gun seized than in 2014 when we had 600 more cops. So the men and women are showing their productivity and are out there being very productive, being very proactive, doing exactly what we want, looking for people illegally carrying guns because for every one of those gun arrests and those gun seized, that's the potential for one less incident that could have been used with one of those guns.
Any other questions?
Yeah, oh, sorry.
One other one. I know we gave the safety tips, but what do you say to the citizens or people that may be coming into the city? Safety tips is one thing, but how do I feel safe getting into this car?
Well, we want you to be safe. We want you to feel safe. We gave some safety tips in coordination with our partners, in coordination with the rideshare companies. And we want not just the customers to use the safety tips, but we want the drivers to use the safety tips. And when something doesn't feel right, please call 911. Just know that we now have demonstrated to you that we are actively and aggressively looking for and arresting people who are committing these heinous crimes.
So just to clarify, 6 people have been arrested related to 12 of the total 39 of these rideshare robberies.
So, when you say the 6, basically, we have a number of people that have been arrested for the ride shares, to include the 6 and maybe some additional people. But the 6 that you're referring to, like this young lady, she referred to the 6 juveniles. I can make a better determination that way. But when you just say the 6, what 6 are you speaking about? The juveniles or in addition?
The juveniles announced today.
Okay, so In regards to the juveniles have been arrested. In addition to the juveniles, some adults and another juvenile has been arrested as well.
Related to 12 out of the total 39 cases that you guys were looking into about these robberies?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
And where in the city or county are these happening, and at what time of day or night?
So,
It's primarily in the Southern District, but it's crossing over into Baltimore County. Some of the incidents have happened in Baltimore County. Thus, we have the State Attorney General working with us. We have our U.S. Attorney working with us because, criminals don't respect boundaries, and we have to have interjurisdictional cooperation and interjurisdictional enforcement where some of these have crossed boundaries.
Brittany, and one follow-up, and then you'll do the last one.
Can I ask a question too?
Oh, sorry, Lloyd.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, Lloyd. Yes, come on.
I'm sorry, I just have two quick ones. I'm sorry, I'm pretty good at math, but I'm sorry to bring this up again. We were talking about 9, and then we're talking about 6 additional, so
I think
that's
the 9 is-
15 total in the 39 cases. Can we just, I'm sorry, can we just to clarify the math, because we're all gonna get it wrong, I think, and
I got you. So the 9 arrests is most certainly connected to the pattern. But we have a lot of follow-up investigation that we need to do to most certainly connect them to the pattern. Like they've been caught in vehicles that we've recovered, vehicles that we know that were carjacked, vehicles that we know were stolen. So that 9, with that bucket, we know that they're connected. We still have to do a lot more investigation to absolutely tie them. Victims have to make identification. We have to know for certain before we can say that they were arrested for the pattern.
Okay. And then the 6,
The 6, we know most certainly they were were arrested in acts of the pattern where we can most certainly identify.
so we could say 15 individuals so far have been arrested for these carjackings.
We can say 6. The 9 has been arrested in reference
I think
to.
what I'm also hearing you saying, some of the arrests are related to the carjackings.
Yes.
Some of the arrests are related to other crimes related to the
To the
carjacking, but
carjackings,
not
yes.
specifically carjacking, like being caught in the car,
Yes,
Okay.
but not stealing the car.
So 9
Gotcha.
total, 6 of them are minors.
yes.
6 are minors, and the original 9 are somewhat associated with this, but not.
Yes, so we know they're associated because of the vehicles, because of the recovery. We know that those vehicles were either carjacked or they were stolen, and we know that they were used in the immense of some other act. But we were able to get those individuals in the car. Now we have to prove that they committed the actual carjacking, if that helps.
So I think where he was trying to clarify, because we all were confused, it sounds like there were 9 minors arrested first, and now there were 6 additional.
I won't say just 9 minors, because we
Okay.
do have young adults and adults.
Okay, so it was
9
9 people total, 6 of them
Yes.
were minors. Got it. Okay, that wasn't my follow-up question, though. I just wanted to clarify that.
One more,
Just
and
one
then-
more, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you originally, I think about a week ago, said that this was like an organized effort and everything. When was the last time one of these occurred, and since you've made these arrests, have you seen it happen again?
So the last RideShare event that we had, it occurred yesterday, was the last time we had a RideShare event take place. Now, what was the second question?
And they said this was an organized effort. Do you feel that, like, the people that you've arrested for this were involved in all of these, or like?
So it would be kind of overzealous for us to just blanketly say that everyone is involved and say the pattern or whatever. What we're concerned with is the carjacking itself. So we have the patterns that's going on, but we also have carjackings that are going on, and they kind of like bleed into each other. And to try to separate them and say that the patterns are more important than the regular carjackings, I don't think that that's safe for us to say. I like to speak in regards to the carjackings as a whole. So you try to pinpoint us into, well, did we get RideShare arrests or did we get regular carjacking arrests? That's too immediate.
Well, I think the thing that's important is officers and detectives have been very proactive. We've been working around the clock. We have great partners that have been working with us, from investigating to prosecutors. And while we have made some arrests, we saw it continue. So we know that there are more people out there who have not yet been arrested who continue to commit either the carjacking or the RideShare carjacking, or a combination of both, that we need people to help us identify them so that we can catch every person who has been responsible and stop it altogether.
Final question with Brittany.
Okay, so, I'm sorry, I have a follow-up one. You said the last rideshare arrest was yesterday. Where was that at?
No, that wasn't the RideShare arrest. That was the last RideShare event.
Event.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, the last rideshare event, was yesterday. Okay, let me correct that.
What do
And
you-
then my question was, how many guns have been recovered so far? Are you able to say?
We, yes, so far we've recovered 2 handguns, one during a search warrant, one in a vehicle.
Thank you, guys.
Can we talk about the victims and their conditions? You mentioned that one person was raped. This was my first time hearing that. Can you elaborate on that and let us know how the other folks are doing? What was the extent of injuries?
Well, we know that there was a rape with one of the carjackings, obviously a kidnapping at the same time. I don't have the condition, but I can say many of these people, if not all of them, have been severely traumatized because it's not just carjacking, there's a kidnapping, and then they'll be driven around to go to an ATM and forced to withdraw money from ATMs. And not just the trauma of the carjacking itself, but the trauma of while you are providing a service and performing a job that this happened. And how do we go forward to continue to do that in a safe way? I think is a lot of trauma. And so all of them have been very traumatized, but they've been very, very cooperative. So have the rideshare companies been very cooperative. And I just want to say thank you to our partners for joining us to chase this down and to be so aggressively going after these individuals.
Was it a driver or someone in a passenger who was raped?
I probably should not state that right now. All right?
Thank you, Abigail.
Thank you all.
Thank you, thank you.